Hi everyone, it's Paula. Hey, good morning. Oh, Stroke Survivor Sunrise, good morning to you. Oh, it is Wednesday, hump day. We can all talk about what Wednesday means to us. But I wanted to bring up that today's going to be extra long because I want to bring up some points from yesterday. And one of them is Zigsa revive. Where did that come from? Zigsa is the Tibetan term for a snow leopard, and about 15 years ago, someone said to me, "Are you a lion or an elephant?" And they gave me 4 attributes of a lion and 4 attributes of an elephant, and I immediately responded, "I'm a snow leopard. I am rare, elusive, strong, and beautiful." Those words came back to me about a year ago when I created this particular page of my Instagram account, that I am rare. I survived a cerebellum stroke with aphasia and other complications, and I am elusive. I'm difficult to know. I've always been that way, but I am strong and I am beautiful. No matter what I look like or feel like or sound like, inside I am the essence of someone that I feel is worthy. And I think us all having strokes, also with aphasia and not being able to communicate and truly having an unbelievably daunting task ahead of us, that we had to start over again. And that took a lot of strength, or it still does take a lot of strength, because even on Monday, if you may have watched my video, I looked at my notes and I couldn't say the word augmentative and alternate communication, ACC, when I was talking about the Prolo Q2 Go. That's ACC apps, augmentative and alternative communication. I couldn't read it. My mind wouldn't let me at that moment in time. That's the best way I can explain it. The fight that you have to have sometimes is with aphasia is very different, because how do you look at your brain and try to make it work versus your hand when you're trying to get your fingers to move right? We look at it. Well, I'm looking at words and I'm not making sense. They're not making sense. And that's part of yesterday's, is talking about the repetitive skills that you have to repeat over and over and over again for your mind to create that pathway. It may have made it yesterday, you may have been fine yesterday, but today you can't say that word, or I can't do that activity. I know I'm making assumptions that's the way it is for you as well. At the same time, I also am aware from different stroke recovery groups that we do all have similar struggles, over things to overcome. And we all know, or to some degree maybe we should know, neuroplasticity is the answer, repetitiveness is the answer. If you do it, it makes a difference. If you don't feel the difference, please, it further along you possibly will. I'm a stroke survivor of 5 years, and that's been my mantra, that neuroplasticity and repetitiveness is exactly what I need to do. I do need to push and stretch my mind. And learning about aphasia and that neuroplasticity, learning about tools such as the augmentative and alternate communication device to apps, they help me anyways, and I hope they would help you in accepting a patience and a respect for the process. Key into building these language skills is the repetitiveness. Numbers were awful for me. One was O&E in my head first before I could say the number 1. And then you put the number 2 next to it, and that made it tricky because 2 was TWO, but 1 and 2 together was a whole different number, so that was TWELVE in my head before I could say 12. And here we go, 12 is also a dozen, because I would also study and read everything, and that's part of the daily practice. I read everything, including recipes. I did that because of numbers. I knew I needed to work on my numbers, so I had to appreciate 1 teaspoon, 1/8 of a teaspoon. I mean, that's just so hard to say and understand when you're looking at a number and a slash and an 8, another number. That's language skills. That's things I lost in my stroke and my aphasia and my process of recovery. Aphasia is not known to be recoverable. At the same time, I do think in experience that I can fight through this, and I'm doing really well. I had this dysarthria as well, where I couldn't move my neck and my face, my tongue. I couldn't move, couldn't smile, couldn't make facial expressions. But that's me. That's certainly maybe you as well. What are you going to repeat today? What repetition activity are you going to do today? So I want to move on to what I wanted to focus on today, and it's about patience is a virtue. Well, we know that phrase, or I know that patience is a virtue, possess it if you can, seldom in a woman, never in a man. Well, it's part of the journey of aphasia. It's the repetitiveness, but being patient with yourself. I call it grace too, giving yourself grace, and engaging in speech therapy. That to me, for me, was the best thing. I really dove into doing speech therapy right from the start. I certainly, with my physiology background, I knew fighting through and speaking again was important, and speaking aloud, communicating again, but reading aloud is so important because of the hearing, as well as the feeling in all your muscles and your face, and getting your brain to remember those pathways again. I say remember them again. They have to make them again. Your brain cells do die. We do make new brain cells from our stroke recovery or possibly brain injury and of sorts, and you need to recreate them. I call it like a river. You need to recreate the river. It starts as a trickle. It's not there every day, and you have to push through rocks and push those boulders out of the way so you can create the stronger path of the river. But working with stroke therapy, do everything they tell you. Everything. If they tell you to do homework and 3 times a day you do, you read a page in a book, then 3 times a day you read a page in a book, if not 5. If you can push it, push. And recognize that there are other things going on. I didn't have any balance issues. I had to work with physical therapy. I had occupational therapy because I couldn't do a lot of things. In recovery, it's a balance, and it's certainly, you find your balance, you find your cadence, and then you got to push some more. And then if you have some bad days, you got to back off and get some rest. These are all things that you may have been told, and we've read about it. I guess I'm just reminding us that we're aphasia survivors, and we wear that badge, that those skilled representatives are there for us to help us with our badge of being aphasia stroke survivors. But I also want to wear that badge proudly as overcoming a lot of it. I hope you do too, and I hope you feel that. It's Wednesday. I want to bring up a daily practice, recording your speech sessions. I don't know if you've done that. Recording your speech sessions is not about bringing you down and replaying them. It's about recording them and playing them a week later, playing them a month later. It's really recognizing the process. I took a look back at my YouTube at a February video I made, February of this year, so it's June, 4 months ago. Oh my gosh, I speak so much better than I did in February. That's just 4 months. That's not from rest, and that's not from sleep. And I'm not saying that that's not important. I certainly did rest when I felt brain fog, when I felt I did too much, or I just truly just go to bed at the right time and at the same time and try to get some sleep. But that's from also reading and picking up new information to read, different articles. And I mention it in the sense of reading aloud. Again, reading aloud is about moving my face muscles. It's about moving my neck and my breathing muscles and my hearing sensitivity. So they all incorporate into my seeing the words, into my brain path in recreating, so I can speak with you fluently today. And I love doing that, as I hope I am reaching people for the momentum and the celebration of who we are. As I wish you a wonderful day, and thank you for being with me. Great. Take care.